Game capture. Oh wow, it's gonna be one of those, isn't it? Really? Properties. Oh, cancel that. Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a whirlwind heist. Langeskov? Langeskov, maybe? I feel like Langeskov would make more sense. This game is actually kind of crazy. All the games are kind of crazy. Wait, what? Bye, Fox. This is a really short game. I'll probably switch over by the time you come back. Maybe. I need to check something, though. I saw Dig Armor just went live, but... Oh, okay. That makes sense. I was very confused. I was like, well, what is happening? Has anyone else seen this game before? Ooh. It's a very intense game, I think. Wait, Phantom, you've never heard of this? Like, legit? Sorry, I keep clicking off because I'm clicking on other things. I swear, you know, whatever. Just give it a second. I need to run over to Twitch real fast. Because there's one thing I can't do, and that's add a... Oh, there it is. A stream marker. Yeah, I think this is about the same people who made the Stanley Parable? Is that what it is? Does everything look good? I keep clicking off, I know. Okay. Let's check the options. Oh. Graphical quality. Interact with the left click. Loading a heist.map. Hint, guards will always return to their patrol paths. Wait, can y'all not see the game changing? What's happening? There we go.
Positions, please. Performance 237. Beginning in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
We're not being paid half enough. Can I crouch? I don't think I can. Management. Oh. I didn't quit when the flood happened. I didn't quit when you reassigned me to a spectacularly dangerous apartment with no training. I didn't quit when the forklift broke and dropped a set piece on my ankle. While looking at all those things written down, I'm beginning to realize that I probably should have. I'm not generally in favor of industrial action. Industrial? Yes. But thinking about it, when the brand new health and safety department literally catches fire within days of being established, perhaps, just perhaps, something like this is necessary. Heavy Good Transportation, formerly Paint Shop.
One second, please. Hold your first position. There's somebody at the door. Yeah, I know. Okay, 1 second. Can we get a precise location on the player, please? There's two of them. Right. Okay. Hi. So this is a bit awkward. I think it's probably best if we're just really honest with each other. It's a bit awkward. The thing is, the game you've just downloaded, somebody is playing it right now, so you can't play it. I'm really sorry. Yeah, this is quite inconvenient. I don't know why this keeps happening. Sorry, we're generally quite organized. You should come inside. I'll explain. Just through here. It's perfectly safe. I mean, it's quite safe. Just go. Yeah, come inside. Okay. Okay, you can wait there. It's just the green room so much comfier, you know?
Is that everything in there? I don't remember. I know there's a bunch of, like, weird stuff in this place.
Here's the thing. The game's live, which makes it impossible to insert me. And also, it's just quite difficult now for you to leave. But I think it's okay. I know what to do. I'm gonna try and call publicity and liaisons, and we should be able to take you to the green room. All right? If you just wait here, yeah, we'll be able to get you in. All right. Let me just find the number here. Okay. It's ringing. Somebody will pick up. We're okay. It's ringing. Don't worry. Yeah, it's ringing. It's still ringing. Come on, for God's sake. Yeah. Oh, they hung up. Okay.
Hey, Ethan.
I'm gonna try that again. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Did you experiencing issues in vehicular combat?
Things to be doing with our lives. Oh, come on. Still ringing. Sorry, I'm really sorry about this. It won't be a moment.
Give me a second, Ethan. I'll explain everything.
Okay. Oh, I know what's going on. We've got something of a strike sort of situation emerging. Yeah, we've
Really?
quite understaffed. Actually, you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, would you? Come through here. I could really use your help.
So this is called Dr. something.
If you'd rather wait here, I could just let you know when we're ready for you.
It's a very interesting name.
It's just, why miss out on this opportunity, right?
Mostly because I want to read these. Earlier today, I received a note on my desk that read as follows. In the event of a fire in or around your office, please try and ignore it and continue as if it wasn't there. I'm afraid I'm unable to follow these instructions and continue to work in this environment. I quit. Did you experience any issues in vehicular combat? If so, what brand of grappling hook were you using? Vehicle, very fragile, surely not intentional? Player OP once trank gun acquired to hit on roof. Sunrise delayed by 35 minutes looked pretty cool, though. Jump between motorcycles was ballo. Sent off sight of clever. You don't know. I can't read these. Too linear. Hate its audience and everyone. Grappling hook? No. Amount. It pissed me off. Me in the car. I love that. More car stuff. Okay, thanks. Saw Gerd. Gerd. Wow. Guard. All right, listen up. I don't need to know why my office has been turned into a shrubbery. I really don't. I'm going to assume it's some sort of space issue that somebody somewhere ran out of space. I don't need to know why my computer was removed and replaced in the corridor where somebody accidentally kicked it. Again, I'm guessing that's a space issue or something. I also don't need to know why we're running out of space so horribly, but I'm going to assume it's because the storage rooms are underwater or something, because that's just par for the course now. Here's what I do know. If I can't access my desk because of, I don't know. It is. It's from the same. It's from the creators of Stanley Parable. There's no hope. There's no hope. Oh wow, that's terrifying. So basically, you start up the game and it like tells you, oh, someone else is playing the game right now. Sorry, you have to wait till the game's over. You come in here and you realize they've said that there's a strike going on, so they're a little understaffed, obviously. And he asks for my help. So I can help him, which I'm going to do. But I was just making sure I got everything clicked. Ooh, money. Ooh, more money. All the money.
The thing is, our entire weather department and half the wildlife crew is just up and left before we could even begin this morning. And it's all super simple. It's mostly buttons. You like buttons, right? And you'll be able to play the game as soon as whoever is in there at the moment is finished. Promise. Your help? Oh, this is fantastic.
Ooh, clicked off. Sorry.
Okay, this way. Yeah, the lighting department's right through here.
Leave doors open. No.
Yeah.
Do not speak until direct line of sight is established.
Could we maybe move it along just a little? The player's been in the loading screen for the last minute and a half, and we really should bring up the lights.
They can wait. I'm the princess now.
Don't worry about the strike. We'll get through it.
I think there's another pretzel here somewhere. I just don't know where. I can't jump.
Spoiling some of the magic, you know. It feels a bit like cheating. You know. You carry on. You do whatever you need to do.
Garden ornamental walk-in entrance.
Right. First things first. Could you bring up the lights? Thank you so much. Because you know we can't have people playing it. Oh my god, that switch literally says unknown, and you thought it'd be a good idea to flick it. Who knows what it does? I don't even know if we should be concerned. I still need you to pull the lighting lever, though. That would be ideal. Yeah, just now. Could you, maybe not do that? Please. The lighting department spent at least an afternoon on that. They'd be really unhappy if they were, you know... Oh, there it goes. Little lights blinking on in the windows of the mansion, up past the ornamental ponds. Pretty magical, really. Okay, now we need to attack
Oh.
them with a tiger. It's a heist game. The player's playing a big heist. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the tiger's very important. It's in the title. All right, into wildlife preparation. Just through the door.
I'll go when I'm good and ready.
You don't have to be alarmed. It's not a real jungle. It's just a game. I can't let you in there. Sorry. It's very complicated. Health and safety. It's shelves. There's a lot of shelves. But look, we really need to attack the player with a tiger. It's very important. Right, it's so safe. We'd usually have someone else do this, but they started striking right after one of them got. Well, let's not. I shouldn't have. Just pull the lever and let's say introduce the tiger to the level. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You really shouldn't do that. Look, the tiger won't be able to get out of the cage. I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't bet.
I don't know. This game is so like it's not. I wouldn't say like gorgeous, but it's like pretty enough to where it's one of those games where I want to look at everything before I make any decisions about what I do. Because if I don't, I'm gonna miss something.
Here's what I'll tell you. This tiger alone has eaten at least 7 human hands. Almost definitely more.
Because, like, if I don't, I'm gonna miss something. Aesthetically pleasing, thank you.
Perfect. That went perfectly. There should be a red button nearby. It will just let the recovery crews know that the tiger's ready for pickup. Oh no, not that door. There's a far more pressing concern in the room, and it's
Ooh.
growling. Look, the tiger's inside the level. We need to make sure it doesn't, eat everybody. Could you hit the red button to send the retrieval team?
Pencil games, is that what that says? I need like a flashlight. That would be very helpful. I don't have any other buttons to press, right? No. Oh! I do have a crouch button! I'm so angry now. This is really why I miss stuff. Crap. I'll hit the button when I'm good and ready. You can wait. But yes, aesthetically pleasing is what this game is. Boop!
Okay, press it again. Oh, thank goodness. The recovery crew are on the move. I worried they might have joined the picket or gone to the union or been eaten by a tiger. Okay, I'm trying to work out where you're going to be most useful. I don't think we have anybody left in catwalks, do we? Oh, we do. Oh, great. Wow. I can't believe it. I guess weather control then. The door's just over there.
I'm here.
You're doing so great. There's really not. Oh, I hate this room. This hasn't been easy. During our second performance, a pipe burst in here and flooded the whole garden level. I got stuck on the roof of the summer house. All right, okay. The script calls for a storm. Let's make it rain. It's the red
I
valve.
didn't quit with no blood
Right
number.
next to the door.
Oh, I
Gently.
that one.
A lot of the story relies on there being a storm. It's a big part of Act 3. No, too much. Okay, we're good. There's a button below the fan that sorts out the thunder and lightning. Oh, it might be wired up wrong. I'm sorry. That room gets quite damp. Now I think about it, it might have been safe. Oh no! There it is! There it goes!
Scared the crap out of me.
The building lit up by these big flashes of lightning.
Good lord. I was not ready for that.
Oh, speaking of, the player has apparently entered the mansion through the orangery and is...
Orangery.
They're going to use the lift. Okay, that's okay. We can do this. They're right here. This way. Actually, wait, hang on a second. This is really important. Behind this door is the closest the player ever passes backstage. They'll be right behind a wall. And I don't know what the wall's made of, but I do know that it's phenomenally cheap. So we're going to have to be very quiet, okay? Just down the steps. Yeah, that's good. That's the mansion in there. I didn't want to tell you, but we actually lost the player for a minute earlier. I mean, they're back now. It's fine. We're good. But they completely vanished for a bit. Which, thinking about it, might be a fairly good argument for not pressing the switch marked unknown. In any case, here's what we need to do. The player's going to come down the corridor and call the lift. And once the doors open and they get inside, they're going to press the down button. When that happens, all you have to do is pull the lever on this side. This lift was always supposed to power itself, obviously. This is just a hangover from rehearsals that nobody got round to replacing. Besides, it's fine. We've got plenty of time. And actually, no, wait, here he comes. Shh, out, eyes front. Wait for it. Ready? What are they doing? Why haven't they pressed the button? Do they hear us? Don't move. Now. Pull the lever. Pull the lever now, please. What are you waiting for? Pull it. Okay, fine. We'll just wait. Shall we? Oh, thank God, we're moving. No idea what happened there. I think they can't have heard us. I hope they didn't hear us. They probably didn't hear us. At least they're on their way now. Actually, they're going to be very busy with the vault. You could start playing in the grounds. We just just need to prep some pyrotechnics for the escape sequence, and then you're good to go. There's a lift to the pyro workshop up the stairs.
What the? There we go. It's like catching me.
Just hurry along.
I want this money! Thank you.
You're not into lifts. That's okay, I can understand that.
I want to go in there.
But we really should keep moving. It's not an unpleasant lift. Really. It's a good lift.
Aesthetically pleasing is a really good. Such a rebel. Do you feel like, I am feeling a little bit better, but like not good enough to play Overwatch. So here I am. Taking. Oh, there we go. I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. It was Monday. Why is there soda everywhere in here? Is there more money? Oh, there is. Thank you.
Oh my god. Are you okay? Do you still have your ankles? Are they in the correct orientation? Okay, you're okay? You do? That's great. Oh god, I'm so sorry about that. This is the weather room, isn't it? Right. Okay, listen. Since we can't reach the lift to Pyro, the only way back into the game is through a department called High Concept Miscellaneous Interactions. There's usually a lot of training involved, but I'll talk you through it. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. You brace yourself.
Brace yourself.
Welcome to Miscellaneous
Oh,
Interactions.
well, okay. Close the door on me.
Department that controls a lot of things. Locked and unlocked doors, interior lights, smoke machines, telephone calls, actor queues, laser lights, vault guards, tranquilizer dart strength, you know, that kind of thing. But it's all just done with numbers. I don't know why. And usually the operator's got this big, usually they know what they're doing. But I've got a manual here. I think we'll get through it.
There's no way I would remember those numbers. 3027, no. I'm not even gonna try. I'm sure it does something if I memorize it, but I'm not. Checking on the stairs from Monday. I like the concept of this game a lot. Nothing can hurt my ankles as much as the Season of Marching Band accurate. Definitely the wrong orientation. Accurate. I like this little jazzy tune it's giving me here. What's that? Oop, there's money. Need more money? Money! Money's all I care about.
Alright, in order to get started, you're going to want to press the number 4. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. That's fine. I think that's normal. Yeah. I don't think that light's a bad sign. 5, 7, 2, 1, 2, 1. Ah! Okay, so what we did there, it turns out, was the wrong thing. Could you press 9 and then 4 and then 1? Please, it's alright, there's a page in the manual about this. Oh, I think you should probably get that. Listen, I know it's tempting to ignore problems that you've caused, but this is really... What did you just... That could have been very important! Why did you... Ah! Okay, that's alright. Okay, I found the right instructions. Alright, I need you to press the number 9. Alright. Let's just assume that we've got 9 sorted. Right? Okay. 5, 2, 1, 4, 4. Wait, no! Hit start to cancel that. And then a 2. 6. Just ignore that. That's fine. Right. 7, 2, left. 1, 4, 2. Oh, Christ. Please pick up the phone. Please. And talk to them this time. How can you...
Call 911. Okay.
Incredibly anxious.
Oh no, 9's stuck.
Please pick up the phone. Please pick up the phone.
I want to use the
Hit
phone.
these four numbers. 2, 5, 9. Oh, I guess we don't need to bother with 9. Oh. That sound that I might have told you to ignore, it turns out that that's a very bad alarm. So I'm going to need you to just do a 180, right down the stairs, please. Right down. Probably go a bit further. Move. You really want to move right now. Sorry I didn't know about the alarm, but there's been a lot going on in my life, and you really must move. Come on. Move. Move.
Ooh, money. I'm glad I played around a little more. Give me the money. There we go.
Here's good. Here's good. Great. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Okay, back. Come on, back up the stairs. A bit faster than that, please. Just a bit, you know. Just
Did I miss any more money?
Don't worry. Actually, do worry.
Hello.
Hit 7, 4, then asterisk.
Hold on. What?
Let me in.
Why?
I need stuff.
You get nothing.
Wait.
I'm surprised you don't know how to unlock the door by now.
I don't have a small screwdriver.
You don't need one. You can use like. Oh yeah, you do need one. Look what I'm playing.
Don't be a dick.
Can't help it.
Is there a sign?
Go on the door.
Is there something? Oh, there is, isn't there?
What?
I
Oh.
don't
Oh.
think any of this room is.
those fire graphics.
Please don't do what I think you're about to do. Please don't do it. Just pick up the phone and put it to your ear like a normal person. Like a normal person who can answer a phone. And you'll be able to talk to somebody on the other end. No! You did my thing.
I don't. Literally had to freeze it because I wasn't wearing pants.
Wait, hang on. We can still fix this. We can. I need you to find a blue panel marked downpour. Do you see it? Do you see it?
I actually don't.
It's turned off, right?
Oh,
You
yes.
found a way to activate the fail-safe lever to the left of the. Oh no, wait. On the right of the keypad. Right, not left. Don't do the left. Okay. When the downpour panel lights up, I'm going to need you to pull it. When it lights up, not before. Any moment now. Now? Did we do it? I think we did it. The players left the mansion. I think we did it. I don't think it's supposed to still be raining. Hey, come back down the stairs.
Did I miss any more money?
You're done here. You don't need to spend any more time in this room. You can forget about the whole thing. Or you can try to forget about it. Whatever. This is it. You're done, sister. Thank you so much.
Sister?
Thank you so much. You really helped out. We couldn't have made it through without you. We really couldn't have. Through here. Here we are again. So this is how it's going to work. You go in there. Just give me a moment. I will bring the lights up. And Dr. Langeskov, the tiger, and the terribly cursed emerald. Enjoy it.
There's a
Don't tell
pretzel
me you're getting
somewhere.
cold feet now.
I want that pretzel.
Anything. Trust me, anything on the other side of that door is peanuts for what we've just gone through. It's great though. It's really good. Particularly the voice work. Some of the voice work is outstanding.
See, I didn't know I could go into the
It's
tables.
really good.
Now
I
I'm
can see
sad.
After sniffing all over this. It's really good. It'll probably win awards.
I know there's also
Yeah, despite
a thing for knocking over brooms, and I missed one. Is there like a pretzel right here?
Thank you so much.
Whoops.
What? Another player? You've got to be kidding me. I can't do this again. Okay, this is really awkward. The fact of the matter is... Wait, hang on, where are you going? Right, so, look, I need to talk you... Okay, that's the lighting room. You need to talk... Okay, fine, this is wildlife trap. No, hang on! This is... That's a... Hang on, there's a tiger in there! There's a tiger in there! That's... no, don't pull that! Wait, no! Oh!
Crows, crows, crows. So this is a free game, so it was really short. I really appreciate it. Wow. I really appreciate it. I don't think I... Hold on, let me check and see how many... I've unlocked 3 out of 6 achievements. Begin the heist. Steal the orange thief. So that's go to the orange... Get the orange machine like I did. Knock over all of the brooms, which I did. Oh, okay, so I didn't steal 5 francs. And I didn't turn off all the lights. And there's one hidden achievement, which I don't know. So I could play through really fast again. If I wanted to. It's I could, like I said, I could play through again and get the money one. I might at a different point, because that's a fun game. But let me see if... what was it called? The Beginner's Guide. Okay, Beginner's Guide is ready, so I'm going to switch over to Beginner's Guide. Because that's a really good game, too. Wait, is Nintendo Direct now? Oh no! Is it already over? Fuck. See, I'm trying to get this up and running here. There we go. Why is it not showing it? Oh, I have it hidden. Of course I do. Of course I have it hidden. This is a great game. I want to make sure you're all listening and paying attention when I play this game, because it's very intense. Why? Why are you using the at? Stop. I'm in a Discord, a Pokemon Discord, and someone's using the at everyone command. Just like freely. I'm like, why? You're literally making it where everyone... Can you stop with the at everyone, I wonder? Like, if he does it again, I'm gonna ask him if he can use the at here instead of the at everyone, because that's really annoying. I mean, what can you do? Let's look at all of them. Okay. The Beginner's Guide. Has anyone ever played the Beginner's Guide before? Bantam, I think you have, right? Oh, I need to change. I need to put a marker. A lot of people are live right now. There. Alright, I'll hop in.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a
I have turned up my sensitivity way too much.
reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Oh, okay. So you can't see the loading screen like that. So maybe right here. Give me 1 second. Fit the screen. Cool. I feel like the mouse is so really strong.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift to structured imaging.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin shifted activation.
love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Oh.
Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it. Or, if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
I don't like being returned. Okay, fine.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Game's too quiet? Is this better?
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat
Oh, hello.
signature. If you...
Thank you.
Your body could stop the beam.
I just played. Hold on.
It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Oh. It's actually really pretty.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
I just got hit by a headache. November 2008. Okay, before I continue this. Hello, yes. Thank you so much. I just played, oh crap, what's it called? Dr. Krosbeck, the Lion, and the Evil Emerald game, which is amazing. It's by Crows. Thanks for stopping in if you're leaving. I don't know if you are. But yes, just played that. Great game. I played it before. I wanted to get another achievement, which I did, but there's still 3 more I need to get. This one I love, and I haven't played in a long time, so it's been a while. And thinking about the volume, tell me if I need to turn. I can turn it up a little more, if need be. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Interesting.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
The future is always behind her. How will she find the strength to confront it?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that.
Any louder?
Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick.
Or something.
Okay, next one.
POV on this is really bad. Ooh.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
There's not enough of these games.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Oh, right. I remember this one.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Enter. Oh, enter. Stand on an X staring at a bear for 3 hours. A stranger appears. You must address the reality. You must address and rally a group of eager press reporters.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little
That's my
ideas
favorite
for
one.
games.
You are a gate. Read an enemy's email to learn about how to beat them.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Honestly, some of these game ideas are amazing. Dusting your jewelry rather. Oh no, I was reading. Those were some really good games. Now the kind of game I can get behind. Honestly, it's the kind of game you normally play, is it not?
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
I played this
Don't
before.
forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
I played this before, and that part really scared me. Because I was really terrified that something was gonna hop out and jump on me.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
What the hell?
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
January 2009. You're now exiting.
Aha! So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to
Oh, hold on, let me check something. Okay.
play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
March 2009.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which
I've heard this
determines what
before.
the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
I love the atmosphere in this game. Yeah, I played it once a long time ago. And I remember it being really, really emotional. I'm like, I'll play that again, why not? This looks like SCP. Is this not SCP?
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that. This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't. It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Is it Halo? Did you come from up above?
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Did you have to get through a door with 2 door switches? You're saying that was literally the last thing I did before coming here. No, I don't remember having it before. Then that's telling you after all, which is meant. You think you want to get through? Trust me, you don't. Let me describe it to you and tell you all about what is over there. Alright, I'll tell you what's solid. Oh, I'm blocking the chat. Damn it. I can never be anywhere. There. Sorry. I didn't expect it to be. back, but it wouldn't let me. Are these box heads? I guess. Technically.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Word for word. You're not going to say that's what they're going to look like. These boxmen will haunt my nightmares. There are worse things to haunt your nightmares.
It's a lamppost.
Yes.
Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
This game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All the notes you see are left by other players. Nice room, not.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet.
No point.
All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person.
Wow.
In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually. Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played. But it's ironic, isn't it, that in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work.
Ethan, you're here.
I think this is why
leave.
I always liked Coda's games so much.
You have to be
Is
here.
because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
Sorry. No, stay. I refuse to believe. Butter? Wait, what? Bud as Bud, of course. I need to go to the freaking bathroom. Recognize me, please. There's nothing here. Go back. Don't listen to that guy. free t-shirt. Need other side door. Why do you do? How open door? Open sesame. Cannot open door. Someday I'll meet the person who made this. New room. Do you have the chimes ringing? This is where I get off. Failed to write anything here. I am compelled. Stop, turn back, proceed further will only result in misery. Take my hand, let's jump together. Cabbage-shaped nations. What is this painting? That's a Mandelbrot. No, it's not. I thought it was a Mandelbrot. No, that's a regular drop game. Next time I'll do better. I need someone to talk to. This is a note? Don't listen to the other notes. I'm not safe. Taylor, you cannot fall off. Ethical. Oh, wow, you can't. I saw a person walking down there and now it won't come back. Double Tower Star. That's, honestly, that's a nightmare thing as well. Well done, all of you. Painting, what does it mean? Stop making it. Art. From up here, it looks like just dots. That's kind of what it is. Hell, I'm trying to speak. Whoever made this has issues. Oh, that's rough. Who are all of you? Yeah, especially when he says that all of these were written by the creator and it was never actually connected to the internet. I was like, oh. Wait, you've never heard of this game? Yeah, he said that every single one of these was made by the creator, and he said that it was connected to the internet, and other people could post, but it was literally just him. So these were all written by the person who made the game, which we support, though. This is a terrible secret. He kept it well. I beat the game. More room.
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on. And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture. Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
Oh wait, I didn't check outside. That looks like a horror movie to me, right away. The music in this is great, though. This game is super emotional, be warned. Oh.
See, like, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
What goes in the center of the room? The giant hole in the ground. Oh, well, okay. Now alongside the wall. Okay. Who are you? Where exactly are you doing this from? Tables were invented in 1935. Oh.
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
This is like OCD.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this, to see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop, that particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it. It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
So get out all your needs. It's going to be right now.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice? So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself? To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the two doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
I'm gonna be having to clean this entire house by myself. My miserably then. Everyone knows lonesome man's make lonely house. Let's make.
You'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work, and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
Make it especially cheesy.
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful. know that Coda really liked this game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was like grossly happy all the time, just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
I love music in this, but also, oof, I'm already getting like feeling a little emotional. Phantom said it's hitting too close to home, which legit.
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace. But, of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
I do love that music. I need to know what it is, or if it was made for this. There's the light.
Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it. This one gets a bit goofy.
Came here to become perfect. Switchup's gonna teach you how to be perfect. I want your friends and people in your life to look at you and think, wow, this person is a better human being than I am. Right now, who do you think about that way in your own life? Who do you know is a well-developed person as they make you feel disgusted with yourself? Compared to whom you feel useless, selfish, ungrateful. I intend to make you into that person. Perfection is within your grasp. There's no one else that shares. And the question is not how do we do it, but how do we do it effortlessly? This is easy. It's so easy. It's so easy.
About halfway through the game, the perspective shifts.
Oh?
And you play as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
Ooh, I'm developing a cyst. Gross. Just kidding. I did not hit that one, but okay. Something's coming out of the back of the room. Look.
I fell pretty hard for this one.
Perfect.
I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human.
They did say that it's in every. The lamppost
I think about this game a lot these days. This one took a lot longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Ooh, it's very pretty. Let's get the fuck out of here. At a gathering of professionals, the person will start out leaning against this wall. professional photographer of animals. If you dream to photograph animals professionally, this is your one chance to win something or to gain something to succeed. Go on and say something to another. That's not a conversation. You're completely missing the tone of the conversation. Honestly, this is the best part of the game. No problem. I turned it down just a little bit. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. At least according to what Dave has been saying. Yes. True. Oh, okay, jail again. Why would you put me in gay baby jail? Joe.
The game ends with this eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this game. It looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for...
I played through, To the Moon, and I didn't have like any emotional connection to it at all. Genie called me a monster.
His games.
But this
because
game
I feel like a lot of his
last time I
games are
played.
inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
June 2010. We're getting near the end. It says it ends in... So this game probably just keep your eyes closed. Click to begin the game. What? Oh. Ooh. Sorry. Thank you for the follow. Hello. This game is intense.
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
Here's the solution. This is 3 holes. What is the door? Ah. Yes, I see the lamppost. I'm going. Speak something honest. I can't keep making things.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So Where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way. His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
Okay, sorry. This game is one of those where I can't talk a lot during it or pay attention. So thank you for the follow, Cider. How are you? You've hopped in like near the end of this game, I think. It ends in 2011. It's December 2010. So yeah, I must be getting close. I have nothing like to give to my work. There was a machine that kept me going and it stopped. Start the engine again.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle,
I did not
frustration, anxiety, depression,
I hit the one
even,
that said doesn't matter.
and yet still he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because from my perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on. You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash. Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like, video games are not worth this amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about, and I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop. But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
May 2011. The Machine. I tend to be quick, I tend to be quiet, I tend to be brutal. Someone called the press, we might have a bit of attention for this one. More with each of the machine. It calls itself Coda.
And of course, it's the machine.
Here's what needs to happen. You need to go out and apologize. You have to admit to the people that you laughed and suffer have been so wrong. Apologize for everything. I know how to hurt you. My followers, my friends. Tells me to deliver bad news. I have a troubling revelation. The machine will not apologize to us. The machine refuses to admit that it deliberately hurt us. We are stronger than it thinks we are. But live without it. We do not need its games. Those show that we are not failures. We destroy everything the machine has created. What the hell?
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work? So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Hey, Popsy.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something, I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look. And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
This is very.
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze? The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
No.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't. I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed. Where did I screw up? I'm the reason that you stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable. And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
This sign right here still gives me chills. Could you stop adding lampposts to them?
And then you stopped, and I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean? I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself. That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again, and I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay. More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease. Solution. I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons. Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you. If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like. What now? I think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
so chills. This game is so much. It's the thing from the first game. Or is it the first game? Yes. The Whisper Machine. That's what it was called.
Turn back from this cave.
Oh my god.
You
This
said,
wasn't
let
even
me
possible.
prove that I'm brave.
Turn this down a little bit. Sorry.
Keep going.
Oh. Ugh.
But the cave goes for miles and miles and miles.
It's just anything they make is so good.
And you're so tired, but I know that you're strong. So turn back. Turn back.
Oh god, that's a game. That's an emotional game. I don't know why I chose to play it again. But yeah, is it the creators of the Stanley Parable that did this? I know when he comes on, he says he is the creator or one of the directors of the Stanley Parable, the original voice, Davey. I thought this is by Crows. This is a free to play game. I thought this was by Crows because I played the Doctor game too, and I thought it was the same. Let me check. Let me check what Steam says. Store page. Because I want to know what everything unlimited. Yeah, that's Stanley Parable, right? Yes, Stanley Parable and the beginners, and you can buy the soundtrack. You can buy the soundtrack to this game, but it's more expensive than the actual game itself. I thought it was free to play. It's not. Did they take the Stanley Parable off? Oh. Thank you for being here, Graham. I'm just, God. Yeah, I love it. I love it, and I love the crows game. Oh, y'all can't see what I'm looking at, can you? I'm dumb. cannot remember the game for some reason. It's in my library. I just played it. Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a whirlwind heist, which is by Crows, which is another amazing game that I want to play more to get all the achievements, but that one was more funny. The Beginner's Guide, much more emotional. I am dead right now. Okay, well, thank y'all. I'm probably gonna call it a night, because now I'm tired. Oh Lord, thank y'all for some by. Thank you for the follow, Grim and Cider. Phantom, are you still here, or did this kill you? Was this too much for you? I see Ethan left. Phantom's here. Oh, how'd you like it, Phantom? It was pretty good. I need them to come out with a new game. Did Crows come out with a new game? It sucked. Tim, you were here for the last 5 minutes. I can't remember if they've come out with any other games. Crows. Alright, they came out with that accounting VR game, which I can't play because I don't have that. Oh, they have... Wait, what? They have a browser game? An Android game? Ooh. I didn't know they had that. I might have to play those sometime. The Temple of No. A game by Crows. Click on an underlined word on underlined words to play. Oh, it's like it's one of those old school click each word to do stuff. Tim, I'm literally done. I'm done. Oh, it closed. Well, I like to think that we all learn something about each other. Silly Dr. Tim. Alright, guys, I'm gonna go. I am a monster. I'm gonna go and see. There's people in my house. I don't know what they're doing, so I'm gonna go check on them. Probably put some pants on. Should probably put pants on. If you're lurking and you want to join the streams, if you want to join the Discord, go for it. I'm probably gonna play some Jackbox soon with everybody on stream. I haven't decided when. The next time I'm supposed to be back is Sunday.